Welcome to the Fabric of America, the podcast that celebrates small businesses and the remarkable stories that weave our communities together. We're your hosts, Melissa Otto
and Matt Banover.
Matt is a fashion designer passionate about storytelling through style.
And Melissa is a seamstress on a mission to make sewing cool again and inspire the next generation. We sit down with small business owners, artisans, and dreamers to uncover the stories behind their brand, what inspires them, challenges them, and keeps them creating.
Because we believe that behind every idea, every design, every stitch, there's a story worth sharing. So grab a drink from your favorite local shop and join us as we weave together conversations about passion, perseverance, and the power of small business. Matt, how would you revitalize a city?
Oh, what a
Hit you with the big questions.
Oh my God.
First thing in the morning.
I'm only one cup of coffee in. I would say I'd probably start with community.
I feel like that is the only possible answer.
Yeah.
Well, maybe some people would say industry, but I feel like
Well, they would be wrong.
they would be wrong. I agree with you on that. It starts with the people, right?
Yeah.
It starts with bringing people together, showing off the, benefits that a city or a municipality has to offer, and that's how you attract people to revitalize.
And industry comes from community. Once
This
you've
is
got a
also
vibrant
true.
community, there's a reason to open up a business there. There's a reason to bring more attractions
There's
there.
a draw. And then it's the chicken and the egg, what has come
Yes,
first.
that
But
growth.
yes, and it just begets itself because more people want to come, more people want to spend time in these businesses with the community.
Melissa
and it
Otto
goes
for
on
president?
and on and on. Well, maybe for mayor. Start small. President seems like a hefty job, but
is. You could do
so we sat down today with Erin Mairson of Hearts in Hartford.
Yes.
And what a ball of energy.
She was...
Talk about an incredible human.
I put my coffee down because I was just thriving.
Feeding off of her.
Yeah, I was just thriving off her energy. I mean, she was incredible.
She really was.
They truly broke the mold when they made her. She's a one-of-a-kind, just generator of energy.
Yeah,
She
24 years old, started this amazing organization trying to bring people back and together
Yeah.
to Hartford.
Yeah.
And it's incredible, what she's done in such a short span of time.
Yeah.
Obviously, given her deep well of energy,
Yeah.
she's such a hustler. It's
She is.
pretty amazing to be in her space and to kind of absorb some of that inspiration. You can really feel how much she cares about her community. It was fascinating that she's not even from Hartford to begin with.
Yeah.
That was pretty
Yeah,
wild.
that was awesome.
So you guys will learn a little bit more about her, but we're really excited to share with you Erin Mairson from Hearts in Hartford on this episode of The Fabric of America. Welcome, Erin. We're so excited to have you today.
This is exciting.
I want you, for the listener who is unaware, who's never met you before, tell them briefly, 30-second elevator pitch about
been waiting
you.
for this one.
Rapid fire,
Not a
go.
second.
30-second elevator pitch. I always like to introduce who I am and not what I do. I feel like they're two different things. So I'm Erin, and I feel like I'm really a cool gal. I feel like a lot of the work that I do, I've kind of branded off of who I am and what I care about, and I feel like that's kind of transpired into this thing that's, I guess, is my career now. So I tried the corporate life, and I saying it online, but I don't really think it's for me.
Yeah.
So I went to school for 2 years, and then COVID was really tough to me, and then my parents struggled a lot financially. So I decided just to work and start to get internships and stuff like that. And I realized that I was quite the hustler. So I kind of fell in love with video stuff and realizing bringing people together and then getting to highlight the moments where you could bring people together was very special. I did work in the nonprofit healthcare space. So I was putting on events for people, 5Ks, walks, different things like that. And then I kind of realized my love for events. So that's where I fell in love with bringing people together in a space. So I founded a women's community. And so that started almost 2 years ago in May, which is crazy because I feel like I'm starting to get elderly, but
Time flies. Time flies.
So then I fell in love with that, and I fell in love with meeting people and hearing their stories. It's kind of transpired, and it's my crazy career that I put on events, and then I give women different resources in our area. So now we're franchising it to other cities. So we're developing a a co-pilot program for 2025 so other people can open up chapters in their cities, and then I can kind of help facilitate them. But yeah, I guess that's my life and like what I do. I could like go on and like this like ADHD.
Oh, you'll get to go on.
I didn't take
Don't
my
worry.
Adderall.
I was gonna say like what I think the interview's done. Like that's pretty much all the words.
But yeah, I really love it. I mean, I don't even think there's enough that I could say because it like as an entrepreneur, it like changes every single day. But I really love what I do. It's still scary. But
And for the listener who doesn't know, what's the name of your organization?
yeah, so essentially it started in Hartford, Connecticut, which I love saying that to people because people they're like, you're from Greenwich. I'm like, no, I'm from Hartford, but it's nothing like Greenwich.
Yeah.
But it started in Hartford because I grew up near the University of Connecticut and my dad's a Hartford teacher and like is like bleed Hartford, like we love it. So I graduated from Hartford like neighborhood school, and then I moved around a little bit, and then I came back, and I thought I was only going to be here for like a year and like maybe go to Boston or New York because that's where like all entrepreneurial people go.
Yeah.
Says like Forbes
Not
magazine.
these two.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we're all
Bring it
here.
back.
There's just no place for us to go. But so that's like essentially why I started it was because like some weird man in Hartford politics was like, "That's cute. Good luck." I was like, okay, word.
Challenge
Yeah.
accepted.
So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I was like, I like to call myself like a silent viper. Like I said nothing and I kind of almost made it faceless for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it actually started to gain traction. So that felt really good. But yeah, so I grew up like near Yukon stores, but I found the love for it here. And then, yeah, we decided that we were going to, is that the question? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
think
like,
so.
well, so like, I don't even know what you
Yeah.
asked.
I wanted.
What the name of
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even remember.
Right. That totally checks for me. Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
You're
So
crushing
it's
it.
called Hearts in Hartford, and then essentially we like branded off of Hearts In. So essentially, it's like having people put their heart in their community or into whatever they're doing. Which like our slogan is like inspired by wellness, driven by conversation. So like the pilot of all of our events is things that are wellness and health driven. Generally promote the greater good. So like you're not getting slammed at our events. You're like there to make meaningful friendships. But that was something I was never a really big drinker. Whenever I was in social settings, that's part of the reason why I hated college.
I went to Marist, and in Princeton Review, in like the book, Princeton Review book, it had rankings of the #1 party dorms and stuff.
Right.
It's like, why is this a
Wow.
thing?
Yep,
Like,
and that's $90,000.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like-
It was just like it
A
really
year,
was
yeah.
wild how one of the best things they could advertise
Was the
was the party.
party life. Yeah.
And it shocks
terrible.
me now
Yeah.
thinking about that.
Yeah.
I mean, back then I thought it was awesome, and that was one of the reasons I went. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, Hearts in Hartford, and then now it's like Hearts in insert city here.
In
So,
Boston, in
Hearts
New York.
in Boston. Yeah, we launched in Boston 2-3 weekends. I'm like
Yeah,
time
that was
challenged.
pretty recent,
Yeah.
right?
3 weekends ago. Yeah, I don't even
Wow.
know where I am. But and we had 2 really great events. Like one we had like in partnership with Soul Cycle, which I love Soul Cycle. So
Yeah.
that was like very exciting to me. And then we hosted one at like this really cool Pilates space. And I feel like I always like we could probably go over a story, but I meet these people in like very weird settings. Like I found this fitness instructor on my Instagram or TikTok at 3:00 in the morning, and I shouldn't have been awake.
Yeah.
And I DM'd her and was like, listen, I started this thing and I want to host an event. And then all of a sudden it like fruitioned into like
Yeah.
this like sold out event with 50 people. I'm like, how did this happen?
Nice.
What?
But like, I feel like those are like the best connections. So yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like now we're going to expand to other cities, and then New York will be in January. So
That's wild.
That's awesome.
That's absolutely wild.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's very
I
cool.
don't
when
think
I get
congrats.
really weird when people are like, congrats. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I'm like, we just started. But
Yeah.
it feels very surreal because I just never intended it. I thought it was going to be, when I started, I thought it was going to be a walking club. So now I'm like,
walking club.
this is not like what I thought I was doing.
Hey,
but
I mean, Lamborghini started by selling tractors.
I posted
You know?
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yesterday, I saw that yesterday. I've been very in my era of like, because being an entrepreneur, like, what is this saying? Like, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And it's like actually so true. Like, the amount of like, I love my dad, but he's like, teacher, like, you got 1 year left on health insurance, bitch. Like,
Yeah.
you better figure it out. And I'm like talking to a lot of my like older entrepreneurial friends, and they're like, it's really not that scary. Like, I don't know why everybody makes it seem like it's so scary, but I think if it was easy, everybody would.
It's a lot of
Be an
hard work.
entrepreneur. Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of off hours.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of working weekends, and it's a lot of sacrificing, let's say, like time with your friends partying. But
And it's a lot of just, I say a lot of times that what I miss the most is having somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Like, if I have an idea,
Who do you spitball that with?
I
either
look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, what are you doing?
I either
Get it
execute
together.
it or I don't. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no kind of, and I can, talk to Melissa or somebody about it. But at the end of the day, I'm the only one who knows everything about my business, in my industry. And like, that's something I miss so much about just like talking to somebody and being like, hey, what do you think about this idea? Because it's just like, I don't know. We're just going to try it. And every day, just try it. And I think that's helped me a lot on social media. It's just like, just get it out there. Who cares? It doesn't need to be perfect.
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about inviting people into this journey that you're going on.
And I think a lot of it's consistency, right? Like the social landscape is like if people see enough of you, somebody's going to gravitate towards something that feels compelling to them.
Yeah.
We grew our whole business off of social. I didn't pay for one thing. I don't even have a website actually. I just
Really?
only use Instagram. And then we link all of our events through our Instagram bio and Eventbrite. We had 57 events. I did a Spotify rap and was I there? And my friend was like, yeah, you held the events.
You
I'm
were
like,
the person.
where were they? I don't even know.
God.
And it's because I was so in autopilot. I worked every weekend, every moment of every day. If I was in the car and I could stop and I knew that it was lunchtime and I had 5 minutes to edit something, I would do it.
Yeah.
And then jumping off the cliff is so weird where I'm whoa, now you have all the time to do all this
Devote
kind of
to your
stuff.
business.
But
Yep.
I think it's different. You're right. When you're in an office or a more what is it, conventional setting, you just have somebody to be a team of 12 being what does somebody else think?
Yeah.
But what I think is cool is you can I always feel that there's two ways to go. I feel I'm very impulsive and I think it actually has helped me grow because I will be proudfully I am shameless in doing what I want to do to be successful, and then it might fail epically.
Yeah.
And I've done that a couple times. I started a podcast in college and I was so proudly, and then I just it wasn't aligned and I just stopped doing it.
Yeah.
But then I don't think if I didn't try a bunch of things that I would have known what I was good at.
Yeah.
And I'm it's fine that I've publicly failed. Who gives a shit?
I love this concept. I was listening to, who was I listening to? I forget who it was. But it was Kobe Bryant. It was on some old interview with Kobe Bryant. He was I don't understand this whole concept of self-doubt, because you're either going to do it and fail, but then tomorrow you still got to get up, or you're going to do it and succeed and tomorrow you still got to get up. He's so just do it. Time is still going to go forward.
Yeah.
You might as well just do it and who cares? And I'm yes, I feel that so much. Just put it out there, and social media, stop putting so much pressure on it, because most of the pressure people put on themselves is bullshit.
Yeah.
It's this is an excuse for you to not post something, actually get it out there. People just want to be a part of the vibe. They don't need all the technical details and everything to be perfect. You just got to say I'm excited that this is happening.
Yeah.
And then people are I'm bought into that. They don't need all this back and forth. Why Hartford?
Okay. It's a loaded question. But so I grew up near Yukon Stores, which is middle of nowhere-esque, no diversity. Everybody has a Lily Pulitzer backpack. It's true. Everybody had one.
Yeah.
With the lunchbox, the matching lunchbox. Anyway, my dad has been a Hartford teacher for 30. He's going to kill me if I don't even know if he knows how to watch a podcast, but if he could, he'd kill me if I said the wrong year. He's been a Hartford teacher, I want to say 32 years, going on 33 years. And so he would like bring us into the city every single weekend, like because my mom worked retail. So like my dad was a high school football coach. So he would just like let us sit in like the middle of like this like grass field, like by ourselves, me and my brother. And like, I just like, I don't know, it felt like very warm to me. So anyway, yeah, he would take us to the city all the time. And like, it felt very like warming to me, like, cause there was like so many different cultures and so many people were like moving from other countries. And my dad would like have athletes who were like, yeah, their family just got here from Brazil. And I'm like, how cool is that? Like that now, like they're like in a different environment. Like what can we do to be welcoming? And like I was like that at like 9 or 10. So I just didn't really understand any other way. And then I would go back to my suburbia in Coventry and like these kids would say like some really not nice things. I remember I got like sent to the office because I told some kid to fuck himself because he was like, you're going to get shot there. And I was like, you're so out of touch. I was like 9. Like, and they're like, Erin, you have to like go. I like was there like to calm down or whatever. And I'm like, this is like the systemic problem. And these people are like this 9-year-old like needs to get out of our office. But it felt really frustrating that people were like really out of touch with like different communities or like just like stereotypical misconceptions. So when I was a sophomore, I transferred and I went like through a magnet school. And then I didn't love magnet school. I again felt like that was like a reincarnation of like somebody trying to attempt to make diversity a thing. And so my dad being like a high school football coach and my parents had already relocated to Hartford, so my dad could like bike to work and stuff. This was before Hartford was like cool, guys. So they were like, your neighborhood school is Buckley High School, and that's like a neighborhood like. It's a neighborhood school. Yeah. And they were like, you're probably going to be the only white person in your graduating class. Like, do you sure you want to transfer there? I was like, fuck yeah, I do. Yeah. So I went there and I actually had the best 2 years of my life. Yeah. I like played high school sports. Like my dad was my high school basketball coach. That was traumatizing. But I had a really like, just like a deeper appreciation for different cultures and like where people come from and like different like backgrounds. I think I was very fortunate. Like I'm like, wow, like that like my parents were able to provide. I think it's like so different in suburban towns if like your parents not driving a Range Rover, like you think that like your life sucks. Like and like then going into like different like where people like maybe had a hard time like getting lunch and I would like pack sandwiches for my classmates, like just a very different meeting. So I think that actually developed like a spark of change in me to like realize like how lucky I am to like be alive and like be given the opportunities. Like I might not like have, my dad's not Jeff Bezos, but like I certainly do have opportunities and you can like share the wealth with others, which I think developed like kind of like this nonprofit side of me that like there's so much good that you can do with the power that you have. So then, I moved around a little bit and I came back and like I said, I was like, oh, maybe I'll stay for a year. And like, I don't know, there's something I just love about Hartford and I don't know what it is, but I love it.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. One thing that I was at a happy hour yesterday with a group of people and I was talking to them about the podcast and they were asking kind of like, well, what's it all about? And I was saying that we take small business owners, local creatives, just people in the community, and we try to show that there are common themes between industries. And one thing you just said made me think about something that Melissa and I are very passionate about. I know I'm like crazy passionate about is this concept of, fast fashion and how it affects other people in the world. Because so many people, they order clothing online and then they just try to donate it. There's no concept of like who's making it and where it's going after the fact. And I'm at the point right now where I'm like in my just anger era of just so upset with how people just don't care that hundreds of thousands of like tons of clothing is washing up on the shores of Ghana and people are just like, I needed an outfit. Like, what was I going to do?
Faraway problems.
Yeah. What was I going to do? Not get free shipping. I had to order that other thing that wasn't going to fit and I knew I was going to get rid of. But that's so interesting that you're kind of talking about the same exact topic. This like looking at life from a different vantage point. Like,
100%.
People just live in a different way. They live in it's not good or bad. It's just like, here's life from a different person's perspective. And how does the real world affect them positively or negatively? And how I like that aspect of what you're doing. And it's like very community building in terms of like, everybody has a voice. Like
100%. I think that our society, at least I've realized, like, especially like going the quote unquote like non-college route, there's potential that I'll go back and finish, but I wanted to feel empowered and like I was able to make the choice. But at least when COVID hit and like, I think it affected so many people financially in different ways. Like for my dad, like coaching in sports, like that's like, you know, as a teacher, like he probably made an extra $25,000 a year coaching sports, and they just renewed nobody's contract. So then like these people were like out of money. Like my mom was in retail, but then also taught like spin fitness classes, like all that was toasted. Like, and then the IRS still thought that my parents like are able to put me through school. Like, what does that even mean? Like, and so at 18, they were like, if you want to finish school, you have to legally emancipate from your family. And I'm
Are
like,
you serious?
I'm
To
not,
prove that you're broke.
to prove that I'm
basically,
broke.
So you could get a
and
student
I'm like,
loan.
I'm not doing that. Like,
Oh my God.
it's like sick. Like, I actually, like, I think oh my God, I could, like, that's gonna like unlock something in me.
Yeah.
But I think like our education system and our healthcare system, they're both extremely broken.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things where I'm like, on paper, they're like, your parents can pay $5,000 a month for college. I'm like, my parents can't pay
In what
anything
world?
in what planet? Like, you're estimating that based on like, you don't even know the cost of rent. You don't know the cost of food. You don't know the cost of somebody's medical bills. Like, you're just like assuming based on like some broken numeric system that like my parents can do that. So I had a very hard time. I'm like, I'm going to go to college, and a lot of the crap that they teach you is like a bunch of BS. I didn't learn one thing that felt like valuable to like to an entrepreneur. I felt like I was learning, like, the only thing I did learn was like right before COVID, I had this like wacky history professor, and he's like, I'm telling you, a pandemic is gonna come. And we were all looking at this guy, like this fucking marbles guy who looked like Santa. Like, there is no way. And it was like an 8 p.m. class. I'm like, I am not going to this shit. And then all of a sudden, a year later, it happened. I'm like, who is going to go back and tell this man that he sees the future?
Right.
But that's like the only thing I actually could tell you that I learned from college, that like this like wackadoo predicted like a illness. But other than that, like it just felt very hard for me to like waste my parents' money and like money that we didn't have, or like the fact that you could be like so young and like have like, I have friends who have like $190,000 of student debt, and they're like, I went to school to be a physical therapist, but I actually want to be a wedding planner. And I'm like,
happens all the
so
time.
why, like, who's like, where did we fail you as a society that like nobody gave you the options? But
So interesting. We were just talking about this the other day. We were talking about, so my a couple of my siblings, their kids, they're saying if they don't want to go to college, we're not going to force it. You know, college is just it's on its way out.
It's a racket.
Yeah, it's
and everybody's getting hip to it, and nobody can afford it. And unless you want to be a certain very specific,
like a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse, like, sure, you know what? I'm not going to go start injecting people on the side of my street because that wouldn't go well for me.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, I think to do like even what I did, like I think that I tried school and then failed at it, and then I tried again. And I think it's because I was actually too smart for my own good. That like sitting there listening to these muffin heads who like don't even want to be there. They don't even want to be there. These like adjunct professors are like, great, you can leave 2 hours early. I'm like, so you're telling me I'm paying like what? I remember looking at my professor my sophomore year of college, and I was like, what's the return on investment? And he was like, what? I'm like, no, I'm just asking, like, what is the return, the ROI on this? Like, what am I getting out of this?
From this?
And he's like, well, you get to leave early. And for me, I was just like, oh my God, there has to be a better way to like fix this. So I don't even know how he went off on that tangent. But
I mean, a hive of bees needs worker bees.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everybody serves a purpose.
Well, I talk about that with my husband all the time. Like, we're both actually very creative. He's in graphic design. He has a lot of really great like ideas, but he has to put like pen to paper in a way. They have to be these very like, he has to see how things maneuver, and he works at what would technically be a corporate job. He's Monday through Friday. He's 9 to 5, and he needs and thrives in that structure. And he likes what he's doing. He feels passionately about like sharing his talents in that way. But when he was in between jobs at one point, he was let go, and I was like, why don't you just start your own business? And he was like, God, never. I would never. And I was like, why don't you come work for me? And he was like, even double never. Like he would no. But it's because he likes to have things kind of set up in a neat and organized way. And to your point, Matt, is it takes all types, right, to make it function. You have to have people like us who are like delulu enough to think that we could do these certain things.
It's like, absolutely.
But we also need people who help, like, if he and I were both trying to be Delulu, we would have like no money and no health insurance and no like, we would just be wondering every week. So he is definitely for us, and it works for our family dynamic, that structure and that stability and that like steady Eddie. Whereas, and that enables me to do the things that I feel compelled and inspired to do. And like, it's not lost on me that we're very lucky in our like socioeconomic situation that I'm able to do that. But to kind of round out your point, like we really need everybody doing things that they find that they are capable of and that they enjoy to some degree to kind of help make all the systems run.
And there's levels to that stability. And I get on this high horse all the time where I can't stand when people are talking about AI and robots taking jobs. Like most of those jobs should be replaced.
Yeah.
Like
the ones we didn't want anyway.
Nobody should, no human being, no collection of cosmic wonder should be operating a toll booth. Like you should go.
That's really true.
You should go learn anything else.
When toll booth employees come looking for you,
Yeah,
I'm an
exactly.
appointment
Like,
finger
there's gonna
right
be a
over
line.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
I will not disclose this address.
Yeah, but it's like there are certain jobs where it's like, you just gotta kind of
We're evolving.
move on.
We're evolving as a
do
society.
something else. And like this whole conversation about AI and what it's gonna do, it's evolution. There's how many people lost their jobs when steam was invented and people
Invented.
Was I alive?
no
Was I even alive?
no it was longer than 11 years ago. Yeah, when steam was harnessed. How about that? That's a better
Thank
word.
you.
Yeah, the
Thank
combustion engine in 1901.
I'm not even.
I definitely
anyway.
wasn't alive.
No.
Let's do that math.
Yeah, that
I'm
was a
kidding.
bit before your time. But it's like there's these points of evolution all the time, and we're going through one, and it's fine. We went through one with the internet. How many people lost their jobs because of the internet? How many people got new jobs because of the internet? It's just one of those things. I want to talk about community because you two are both community builders in the best way possible. So Melissa has the Stitched Collective because what she does is very singular, being a seamstress. It's like one person here. And thanks to the internet, before it was just like people in their attics, and now we can all get together and talk and go through those entrepreneurial cry fests together. we all need
My weekly
those.
cry.
Yeah. So when you two are starting a community, or when you're having your weekly, this is what I want to do, I'm always fascinated. Is there a North Star? Is the North Star, I just want to have a community as a place? Is that the reason why you do it? Or is there something you want people to get out of it?
Oh, all right. Point to me first.
I don't know what that. I always feel like I have things. Do you ever have like mannerisms that you're like, I'm so my parents?
Yes, all the time.
I just
all the time.
Like, what is that?
Over to you.
Like, I always say when I cross the street too, I do the dad wave. It stops everybody. I'm like, and everybody in traffic just stops.
I am my mother incarnate, like for sure. But anyway, so for me, my North Star kind of goes back to the mission. And actually, this is a great segue because this is something that I wanted to ask you about. But our mission with Stitch Collective, at the end of the day, we have three parts to the mission: connection, education, and awareness. And the broad idea is to move the needle forward in such a way that the sewing trades, and so like seamstress work, alterations, tailoring, garment factory workers, like in your domestic area. So for me, it's the US, that we move that needle forward to get more people involved in those jobs. I've been eyeballing I know, such a nerd, the Bureau of Labor Statistics since probably
Riveting
I know.
Right, just things normal people do.
Since probably like 2018.
Some people have Game of Thrones, and
I just have the Bureau of Labor Statistics website, but because like that's where you go for the data, right? So every year after like business owners fill out their kind of like census information, and talk about like what category of business that they're in, how much they're making, you get to know their age, their general like demographics. Very interesting also after COVID, we see the shift in the age gap of people who were doing it, who then retired. So you actually saw a little downtick in the age of the average sewing and garment worker for the first time in a while. Now it's kind of leveled off, but I want to see like more people in that industry. I want to see the general average age go down. Yeah. So that's kind of my like long term overarching North Star of like building this community. And we do that through connecting with the people. We do it through educating both ourselves and like up leveling that baseline of ability. Yeah. And educating ourselves and educating the next generation. And then the awareness piece is you can't be it if you don't see it. So if you don't see us out there, youth on Instagram, on TikTok, making cool things, doing cool things, showing you that we have a business where we make money. We might not be millionaires, but we can go on a nice vacation. We can provide for our families. We can figure it out and be entrepreneurs and business owners. If you can see that, maybe that speaks to you and maybe you want to emulate it and you join our community, build something up in your own community and follow your own path. Yeah. So that was my long philosophical answer to
I also
that question,
love like the branding of like move the needle.
I didn't even think of that. But
oh my God. I thought about that.
Good. Thank you. But so for you, what is like, I think somewhere online that you had speak, inspire, something, be loud. You had like kind of a 3-part
that's like
sort
old
of tagline. It was old? Okay.
That's
I was
like
so curious about like,
some website that I'm still paying for. There was like
it might be.
Yeah, maybe. I should go look at that.
But like, what are your words? What are your
for
your words?
For our community, like essentially like the tagline is like the community where you can go to be. So I like to say, and I feel proud of this, is that we started this, like obviously it's like transformed over like a couple year period, but I feel like communities are really on trend right now. Like I'm going to the big cities like and like to either speak on panels about what I do or like so forth. And there is communities, but I think they're newer. Like people are like 6 to 8 months in where I'm like almost 2 years in. So I think I started it before it got cool, which like actually feels kind of exciting. Yeah. But I think now the new trend for like 2025 really is community. Like a lot of like the way that marketing is shifting is that brands really do care about people actually enjoying their product. And like, that's like something that like I can get into in like a minute, but we work with a lot of like startups and stuff because that was something that I was really passionate about. My first job was in a startup, but I just love the hustle culture and like how hard people are working to get their product like in the hands of people who care. So if I could almost be the vessel for a lot of these startup brands to like have their product seen and heard, and then we can get the photo and video behind it of people enjoying it at an event. There's like a couple of ways that like I can feel like I'm contributing to like something that's bigger than myself. In terms of the community aspect, I think like I don't know, like my North Star, right? I guess like my calling, I guess you want to say, was I felt like I would go to a lot of these community events and I felt silenced at them. And I felt like a lot of these events were people who, I don't know if this sounds shitty, but like they didn't have credentials to be putting on events. Like I feel like you have to be a very special person to make everybody in the room feel valued. And I feel that I really have a gift for that. Like I really care about people. Like I may not be like, and that's why like, you know, I think everybody's good at some things, right? Like I like think a lot of people are like good at like sitting down and doing admin work. Like she is not me. She's like, I'm not good at that. Yeah. But like you could put me in a room with 5,000 people and I will find a way to make sure that everybody talks to each other and feels like their points are being heard or things flow correctly. Like I just think naturally I just love like rooms of people. So that's like, I feel like was like my calling of like, I go to a lot of these social events and they wouldn't be structured the right way. Or I felt like I just wanted to get up and do cartwheels. Like my ADHD was like, I'm going to have a fucking fit right now. Yeah. Or I would leave rooms feeling really uninspired. And I think because it would be so niche, right? They would be like events that were only for people in insurance. And I would just go for like the fuck of it, of being like, maybe I want to be in insurance. Yeah. I totally didn't, but whatever. And I think like wanting a space where people can show up from like, I don't care how old you are. That's what I think is very cool about our community that's so different than I think a lot of communities is like, I don't care how old you are. I don't care what you do for work. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your outfit looks like. Like we like almost never have a dress code. Like there's nothing about our event. Like you could show up in leggings. Like I don't care. You could show up in your fucking pajamas. I don't care. Like I felt like I would go to things and I felt like I'd have to like put on mascara, or if like my face was breaking out, like I didn't want to go, or like if I didn't look business enough, or I didn't look old enough, or I didn't look young enough, like that there, I didn't feel like I belonged there. So I felt like our events, like I think the youngest we've seen is like 12, and it was like so cute. She did a Tiny Mike interview. She was like, this place is so vibey. I was like, right, yeah.
Yeah.
She would just put us to shame.
Yeah, she was like,
exactly.
this is like totally the scene. I was like, where are you like hearing this? But same. And then like we've had like women in like their 60s, and like what I think is like cool is like then like you can meet your mentor, you can meet your best friend, you can meet somebody you can mentor. Like I think like the options are endless in our community of like people, and I just felt like that wasn't like something that I could find, so I created it. But
I liked what you said about feeling inspired, like, because I go to so many events and sometimes I'm just leaving. Like, what the hell was that?
I like get in the car and I want to listen to a breakup song.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
I'm just like,
I hope you
what?
both feel the sparks. Like that's what like I feel like sobbing in the car. Like
Yeah, because
it's like I'm like, what is wrong? And then I'm like,
What
oh,
I just do with my time.
I was like, it's the people. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm
Oh
like,
my God.
I have like this one playlist. It's like sad, but I like made it where I'm like a life on the edge, and it's like literally like closing time. Like I like get in the car, like, and I'm like, okay, if you're playing that playlist, like what like comes up for you? And like it's weird. Like we talk about it in therapy sometimes, where like my therapist is like, you actually know like a lot more than you think that you do. I feel like I'm very in touch, like in like what is the word?
emotionally intelligent.
Whatever. I'm like getting my like intuitionally, whatever. But I think like you, like your body knows, like, and I just felt like I would go to events and I'm like, even now when I go to things, I try to remember, I'm like, what made you feel that way? And because now that I work in events everywhere I go, I like am like with basically like a mini golf paper, like trying to check off what went right and like how I could help. But
That's
I
so
think
interesting.
like, it's like when I get in the car and I feel my battery go like boop, 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 boop. I'm like, why? Like, there wasn't enough and typically I feel that it's that people actually aren't being vulnerable. And so like, I think everybody puts on like this like poker face a little bit of being like
very surface in a lot of these events.
Yeah.
It feels, and it's not even that people are being fake. It's that I think people feel like, okay, we've got an hour or two. I want to meet someone new. So it's like, hi, I'm so-and-so. This is what I do. And that's it. And I think it's hard when you have a bunch of, I'm going to call them random industry events or random networking events where you're actually not meeting the same people over and over again. And there's some value to that and going and like breaking out and meeting new people for real. But I think there's something too when you have a community and it's the same people who continue to show up, who continue to get to know each other, who dig a little deeper, where you start to break down those barriers and get into territory of vulnerability.
I feel like I have no chill. So like I'll be like at an event, I'll be like, have you ever accidentally almost committed tax fraud? And, the person's like, honestly,
what?
yes. I'm like,
The
okay.
12-year-old's like,
Is that your like
she's like, I don't even know what that
question?
is. No, but I'm like, I think like I just would get so frustrated where people would be like pretending, or like I think in like my earlier career, I'm like acting like I'm 95, but like I was like working in like a media startup, and like you would learn like about like some celebrities, and then like behind closed doors they'd be like the most fucking awful person ever, and I'm like, it's almost like when I found out Hannah Montana was like the same person, like it was like the worst feeling ever. It was like a book. It was a book, and like you could like flip it, and I remember my childhood friend was like, oh my God, can you believe she's the same? I was like, it was like New Year's and we were all having Chinese. I was like, no way. She's the same person.
Oh my God.
But I think like it's hard because like with social media, and even without social media, in person, people sometimes only portray what they like want to be like their best self. And I think that makes it really non-relatable for people because they're like, oh my God, I'm such a mess. Like, and it's like, I think the truth is like everybody, that was like that thing I posted. It was like the thing about like how Nintendo started as like, and it's like essentially like every single business owner, entrepreneur person is like, they like literally don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're just hoping that something sticks.
I mean,
Like,
it goes back to what we were talking about. Just don't be afraid to fail. It's like just say, I fucked up, I did this, or I tried this, or whatever. It doesn't need to be this polished version. I always lead with my mistakes, and I always talk about how what I make is handmade clothing. The beauty of handmade clothing is that the mistakes show, which shows that it was handmade.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, this buttonhole is a little bit kind of messed up
that's
and
cool,
wonky.
though.
And I'm like, see,
Yeah.
mistakes can be a big
The
picture.
flaws and the vulnerability are
Yeah.
what makes it real and relatable.
It's
And it
because we're
creates
all
a-
not perfect
It
and we're
creates
all
a story.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
I think that it's like, at least for me, like when people ask me, like even now, like when I've been on the news a couple times and like, you know, they're like, how did you do this? And I'm like, I literally worked my ass off and I epically failed and I cried and I felt stressed and overwhelmed and I tried things and I threw things at the wall that didn't stick and then things didn't perform well. Like, I think people think that, especially with like media, like it can just like happen overnight. And like I do like on my social, I'll try to do like days in the life of being like, I was literally up at 3:30 in the morning writing handwritten cards to every single person who comes to this thing because I do it at every event. And like one night I had gotten home at like literally 1:30 in the morning from New York City and I had an event the next morning. I had to be up at 5 and I just pulled an all-nighter and slept like 30 minutes because I'm like, I will not as a business owner not do this because I will be sad tomorrow morning. Like where I think like at the event when everything's going on and there's a photographer, like people are like, wow. And I'm like, oh my God, my eye sockets are bleeding. Like I'm like bleeding. Like, and but I think that like shows that you care. And like when like if there's like a mistake in your clothing, like who cares? Like one of my favorite thrifted vests, like it won't zip. The zipper is like seriously broken and I don't even care. I just put it on over my head. It's so cool. And I thrifted it with a lighter in the pocket that still worked. And that's like I tell everybody with that. But I think when things have a story, it feels like real.
They're interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
It's
think
more
that's
human.
what's cool about community.
Is that why you don't do alcohol at your events?
I felt so like I'll occasionally have a drink here and there. Like I don't like to put myself in that box because then if I do it, I feel like I'm like committing like a crime. But I really felt very silenced. I've never been a heavy drinker. I do like an espresso martini every once in a while. But I've never been a big drinker and I felt like alcohol can bring out weird versions of people, or it's like the feeling of needing to have a drink in your hand puts a pressure that you might have one too many. And like if you're not paying attention because you feel the need to like have something in your hand.
You take off too much edge.
I just didn't like that feeling. And I will say I did go to some earlier networking events. This is what like got me inspired to do them with like, it just felt like it was like old white men. And then they would be like, what's your family like? And then they'd be like, can I have your number? I'm like, I think you're like the same age as my dad. Like, no. But I felt like it was always like in a setting where like with alcohol, people would be weird or people would use it as like to weaponize me. Like, are you even old enough to drink? And I'm like, oh my God, like your time is ticking. I think you're about to die.
You know what's so interesting is like when I was a bigger part of the West Hartford Chamber, I helped start the Future Leaders of West Hartford Young Professional Group, and drinking was such a big part of that community. And whenever we had events that had alcohol, they outdid the events that didn't. And we talked about it because we started to get this reputation that it was a drinking club, essentially. And we were just so bummed about that. How do we ditch this, but also get the attendees? And this is pre-COVID when it was just, you know, nobody cared about upsetting the status quo. It was just, this is what you do. You have a networking event, you give people drink tickets. And I think through COVID and afterwards, and just a lot of people have now looked at ways of how do we just change this? A networking event, a socialization doesn't need to happen at a bar. You can do it in a million different places.
We do things at bars. I just make people sign forms that they're not going to have a drink.
Oh,
like,
really?
I will have people fill it out. Like I am in understanding that I am going to be ordering mocktails. Like, because I think, I don't know, that was something I just felt very strongly about, is that I just felt like people made me feel bad because I didn't didn't want one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what if I just create a place where like it's actually
It's
not
not
even
an
an
option.
option?
Yeah,
And there's people who've like come and like the thing about our community that I always say that I think is so beautiful are people are like, where did all these people come from? I'm like, you just have to cultivate a space that feels safe and they all start to come out.
Yeah.
Like it's like really, and it's true.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think like when people are like, oh my God, like I've never met somebody, like we had a rooftop event a couple months ago on Spectra. It was so cool. It was like a rooftop yoga flow. We had a drone. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And that whole event had like no alcohol, but it had like a pop-up coffee bar and like all local businesses that I loved. Like people who I know who are my neighbors and my friends being like, how can I incorporate you into this thing? And like people were like, oh my God, like there's no alcohol here. And I'm like, yeah, like that sucks.
We're all
I guess.
being present.
Like, and like, but I think like for people like realizing that like, and that was another way I was going to go with that. So we had a gifting suite, right? And there was probably, I mean, each person probably went home with like $150 to $200 worth of swag of like good, like I work with like what I do is I send my intern into Whole Foods and I like make her stand in the aisle and like look at all the brands and then write them down where they're from and then find their emails. Like we don't even like search people online because those are typically like the most loved brands where I'm like, I want to find a startup who like just started out of like Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And like, how do we get on the phone with the founder and like talk to them why they did it and like incorporate them for like PR purposes. And we had this gifting suite with a ton of stuff. And like, I've been to events in like big cities where people like, you know, like they're taking like 40 bags of stuff and like literally there's people who are like, is it okay if I take one? I'm like, you're leaving. Like, yeah. Like, but like people, like after my mom was saying, she's like, people were so kind. Like you would think people get like greedy when there's free shit and like, we'll just take a bunch of everything. And like, literally, I think people could have left the event with no goodie bag and been like completely content. And I think it's because like the energy frequency in the room is just so different than like an event that like you can like figure out how many drink tickets you could collect.
Right. The prize is the drink ticket.
Yeah.
You know, at those events. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. There's an event planner, Abby, Events Co. She puts on events where if there is a bar, mocktails and non-alcoholic drinks are default. Then you pay extra if you want to add alcohol. It's like, why is alcohol the default?
The reverse thinking.
Yeah.
She does it in reverse.
I love that concept of just like, why is... The one thing we can all have in common is that there's going to be alcohol at this event. Why is that the norm? And just flipping it up about, we're all coming here because we want to talk to each other and meet each other. That should be the norm and the focus and getting back to, I think you're just getting back to a real human connection.
And I think it like, at least from my like study on the groups of people, like I think it limited the people who I actually didn't even want there. The people who don't even want the genuine connections.
Yeah.
Like,
They're just there to
are you
drink.
willing to go because you want to hang out? Or are you willing to go because like you want an IPA? Like, because I don't want to hang out with you if that's like the only reason you
Don't
want to
have
hang out with me.
motivation.
Yeah, don't
Like-
have a drink to suffer through the event.
Yeah.
If there's going to be no alcohol, you're probably not going to go, which means, the person who does want to be
Wants
there
to go,
will
wants
show
And
to
up.
it's funny, I
connect,
even
wants to
notice
talk.
on dates, like if I go, because I'm in like this funny dating phase, if I go on dates and I feel the need to be like, waiter, like I need a drink. I'm like, it's because I'm not enjoying the person and I think they have, like, I don't like them.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
Yeah.
fine. Like, but I think that tells you a lot, like where I think
Tells
a
you
lot
about
of
your
people, it tells you about where you are. And I think it also made me sad. Like, I think I'm really fun and I love to like listen to music or like go out dancing. And like, I like when people would be like, the only way I can enjoy it is if I'm slammed. I'm like, that is like an inner like thing that like you don't like yourself when you're sober. So I just wanted to cultivate a space where they could like really like meet a version of themselves that they love like just naturally. Like without
you know what's so
anything.
funny is I'm 4.5 years sober.
That's cool.
And thank you very much. And I mean, it wasn't like, it sounded, not to diminish your choice, but yours sounds much more like, oh yeah, I don't need it. Mine was much more like, for the good of the
You
public.
better, yeah.
Yeah, for the good
of yourself and
humanity.
people, yeah.
I should probably stop. But one thing that always shocks people is that the number one concert I've ever been to, like the genre I've seen the most live is EDM.
I love EDM music.
I've seen, I don't know, Steve Aoki 5 times, Tiesto 5 times. I saw Avicii 3 times before he died, with friend Eric here, and people are always shocked, like, but you don't drink. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going for the music. Even when I was in my heyday of drinking, we would never drink at these shows because we're just going for the music and the vibes, and we're just there. Like, there's also nothing worse than being front stage at a concert and then like, oh, I gotta go pee, or my drink's empty.
My
I gotta
drink
go
was
fill it up.
$47.
Yeah, exactly. Here's my Bud Light in a tin can that's, $29. I'm like, no. So we would just go and rage and have like the best time. I think all the concerts I've ever been to, which is probably in the hundreds, I've probably had 4 or 5 drinks throughout all of them.
That's amazing.
But then it was in the rest of life
Yeah.
where the drinking got out of control. But yeah, if you are enjoying it and your intention is to go and enjoy the event,
Yeah.
you have a good time. It's like, just remove the alcohol from the equation and see how people show up. And it reminds me about the conversation we had with Haley from Outbound Candles about how you find your right people and niching down. And we talked to a bespoke candle maker, Outbound Candle Co., on an earlier episode, and she was talking about this niching down and how you can't just say, I'm having an event for women who want to be empowered and see who shows up, because you're going to get all types of people. You're going to get like, the realtor who just wants to slang some business cards or whatever. But once you like niche down to this like very, very, these are the people that I want, these are the things, I'm not having alcohol, that right person shows up. Do you have these events with the same people?
It's what I think is the coolest thing is I guess it depends. I mean, events are funny because like people could be out of town for a wedding. Like it's just like depends on timing, like holidays, etc. But I will say that like we've had like people who are like HIH, like Hearts and Hartford, like our people, like they come to every event. Like,
So there's regulars.
there's regulars.
There's no like, I don't know, membership.
What probably will be rolling out in 2025. I think figuring out like ways because I used to give away shit for free because I was just like, I'm nonprofit, like, and now I'm like, wait, bitch, you have to pay your rent. So, but I think figuring out ways. Also, I think I have a lot of wealth of knowledge of like different resources I could provide people and local businesses. That's something else I didn't really touch on, but I feel like we have like a triangle of 3. Like the points of contact are supposed to be like our community is our people, then our local businesses are our point of contact. That's why like we don't have a space, is so I can pop up at all of these places and highlight all the amazing places in our city. I think like what's so cool in Hartford is there's so many places they just don't have events, or like I don't feel like people from other suburban towns like I'm voluntary mayor, and the mayor knows me, and the mayor are very tight, and he knows that I'm like voluntary, like I'm like a voluntary like Hartford
like I'm
mayor.
coming for you.
Yeah, I'm like watch out. But I really care about like making people think that Hartford is cool because I think it's cool. Yeah. And I think like we have people from suburban towns who come in and they're like, wait, like I don't have to feel unsafe walking in my car. I'm like, no. Yeah.
It's
like,
such a weird stereotype and stigma that like I know that Hartford's gone through a couple of like evolutionary ups and downs. Yeah. And if like they've rebranded and they remarket themselves. But like we literally stayed in Hartford last weekend at the Goodwin Hotel.
I love it there.
We love it there. We bid on that stay because I would volunteer for Dress for Success in Hartford. And they, during COVID, and now they still do it, but they would do like an online auction. So every year I always wanted to bid on that one and I always won it. Yeah. So we stayed at the Goodwin. We purposely picked a day where there was a show at the Bushnell. We went to go see Taylor Tomlinson do her comedy act. It was awesome. And we went out to dinner. And we're literally walking through the streets. There happened to be a wedding at the Society Room, which is right across the way there. Yeah. And so there were like a decent amount of people, but at the same time, it was still very quiet for being like a city center. And we're kind of walking around and we were like, why is nobody here? Yeah. Like, I mean, cool, great for us, but also these businesses are like,
that was Jacob's
there.
point
They're
from
available.
American Woolen.
I also think, go ahead.
Well, Jacob, we had on Jacob, who owns American Woolen. It's a textile mill in Stafford Springs, kind of your neck of the woods. And he just moved to Hartford. And he is just saying, why doesn't Hartford have a vibrant feeling? You walk around.
I'm trying, people.
It's just dead. He's like, Yeah, and
It's coming. It's overdue.
Yeah, and he loves Hartford just as much as you. I mean,
Yeah.
It's so funny when people say it doesn't have a vibrant feel, and maybe it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's perception.
Yeah.
Because I walk around bop in my head. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's the best. Like,
I feel the vibrant feel when I'm at those places. Like we went to a coffee shop in the
Where'd you
morning
go?
the next day.
the bop.
The Bop. Thank you.
I love them.
So we went to the Bop. If you're in that
The
area
Bop?
ever,
Go to the bop.
Where is
Also,
it?
like, it's on Pratt Street.
okay.
It was awesome. But we walked in, and this is just so funny. I have to share just a really quick story. The night before, there's an artist that I follow. She goes by Firebomb on Instagram, Olivia. And we don't know each other. I've just been following
She's
her. I
super
think
cool and
she's
does
so
really great
fucking
work.
cool. Her art is beautiful. And I had just been talking to my husband about it the night before. And I said, she's got this mural, da 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 da. And we walk into the Bop, and her artwork was up there framed on the wall. And I'm like, that's the girl I was just talking about. And I took the picture and I tagged her, and we were like, connected on Insta for a quick minute. The coffee there was phenomenal. The guy who was serving it was great. Like,
Jack.
Vibes are awesome.
He's the owner.
Vibes are awesome.
Yeah.
But it's like we walk back outside and there's nobody.
Yeah, tumbleweed goes
Yeah.
by.
We were like, why is nobody here? And that's when like just the pragmatic side of me is like, I need these places to stay in business too.
want
Like
them
I
to
need
stay
people
here,
to come here because this was so good. It was so nice. And the coffee was lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think too, it's like, I think convincing people not to like just drive to other towns like West
Yeah.
Hartford, not to
Or
say
the
West Hartford doesn't need
drive-through
the
of
business.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I always tell people I'm like a coffee snob, but like I will only have a Starbucks if like I'm in an airport and about to pass away.
Yeah.
And then like Dunkin' Donuts, I think you would have to like kill me and then resurrect me and kill me again
Yeah.
to drink a fucking Dunkin' coffee. I will not.
Yeah.
I will not. If somebody paid me, I don't
Yeah.
know. I just couldn't do it. Like I love local coffee and like hearing like, and the thing about the Bop is they roast their own beans in Parkville,
See?
which is really cool.
Parkville's awesome too. My
Parkville's
husband's
awesome.
band rehearses over at Parkville too. Like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. There's a Parkville Sounds
Why am I
spot.
just
Yeah,
hearing
a
about
rehearsal
that?
space. Yeah. So
My
like,
dad teaches at Parkville School, so
see,
that's like
there's
it's all where
stuff
the
there.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we just got to get everybody hip to it.
Yeah. So speaking of Pratt Street,
I love them.
we didn't talk about our outfits first. Of
We
all.
didn't.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. What is like your favorite thing that you're wearing today? Because I know that's where you're going with this.
Yes. So I got
Go ahead.
because of Erin, I wore my shirt. Tell me a story
I want
from
that
Hartford
shirt.
Prince.
I love Hartford Prince.
Yep, exactly. So I got this. When they put this on their Instagram in 2021, I want to say. This is when I got this shirt. I must have had 20 people send it to
Where
me.
is that shirt from?
And we're like, you need to get this. And I went there and I bought the shirt and I love it. But yeah, I think just everything about this, the message, the story, where I got it from, everything, it's just got Hartford. They print and do all the work in Hartford themselves. So this is I wore this for you in honor of you.
Oh.
But yeah, I got my Hartford pride.
Me and my emotion, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, exactly.
Puts on like sad playlist in the car.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that it's so everything that you're saying is so true to this is that there's a story behind every brand. There's a story behind every person. There's a story behind every community. You can get as small or as big as possible. There's something there to be connected by and connected through, which I think is really brilliant. But so that was my representative.
I want to
Love
add
it.
something off of that that's really cool. I think like people talk about success and I think it looks different for like every single person, right? But I think often if you have a mission and like a problem that you want to solve, you will always succeed.
Yeah.
And I think like people sometimes look at me and are like, oh my God, are you going to go back to school? And I'm like, maybe, but like, what is that like? I mean, I think I'm seemingly successful for 24. So
Yeah.
but I think that it's like, I actually saw a problem and I actually like had initiative to fix it. And to me, like if anybody was going to hire me for a job or somebody, I think that's way more tenacious. Like I'd rather hire somebody to do that than like somebody who went to BU and like was a summer camp counselor.
Right,
Like
yeah.
I think like as like a business owner, like I'd rather hire somebody who's like willing to go after it.
We look for personality, not necessarily
I will. I used to like
you can
love
teach some of
saying
the
I was a
skills.
personality hire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people would be so itching with their Georgetown degrees, like, you're what? I'm like,
Yeah.
the personality hire.
Yeah.
Like, we make the same money.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
But but like to your point, that don't just go to college to check the box.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, go back if you have
That's
a
an
calling.
expensive box.
Yeah, it's a-
Expensive freaking box to check. And I don't know. I'm like, I know it's unethical, but I'm pretty sure I could Canva something up.
Yeah.
Like make my own
Here's my degree.
from Erin University.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
I thought about, it's funny, I have a really good friend who's a photographer, and there was like a version of me that wanted to like have like a photo shoot of me burning books, but I felt like it would send the wrong message.
That would
to
be,
somebody.
that would be
maybe
And
not.
I do
Maybe not
speak
the
at-
one. Maybe
I
not
do
the
speak
visual.
at colleges sometimes, and I will say, I'm like, I just like, the point is like, I'm not telling anybody to like drop out of college. Mine was solely circumstantial, like due to COVID and finances and all those other things. I probably would have went and finished 4 years. Like, it's not that I didn't have the discipline or like the intelligence. It was more so like circumstances. But I feel like sometimes people think in order to do things, I add my best friend Ella into everything. But she's like the smartest person, one of the smartest people I know. And she's in college and she goes to UConn and she like does UConn men's basketball TikTok, and she works for like a couple influencers doing social media, and she's like so incredibly talented. And like she's still in college, but nobody ever knows that she's still, you know what I mean? Like still a student and like lives like on campus. And like I feel like people wait until after, or then it's like they missed maybe like a point where they could have cultivated like the community that they had around them. So like I try to like inspire people to just like start. Like
now.
it doesn't matter what you have, like you can always get it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's like a hot take that I have.
I love it. What's something about your outfit that's got a story?
My scarf. So I got it from, I don't know the brand, Arctic Fox, but I got this from a boutique in Wethersfield called Jackie Home and Beauty. And she opened this year. Yeah. And it's like on that beautiful strip that looks like a Hallmark movie in Old Wethersfield. And she's absolutely wonderful. And we just had an event there this past Thursday. And we'll do like sip and shops like in the store, but there'll be like mocktail sip and shops. And she's like one of my favorite people ever. And I like will go there. She has like a bunch of clean beauty stuff, but I'll exclusively go there like opposed to like a Sephora. And wearing it makes me feeling like she's like with me. I think she's like the best, and she's such an inspiring like woman in my life.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that.
that's like my favorite thing that I
Nice.
have on. I think.
Beautiful.
So you obviously are holding in-person events, something like 50 something you said over the last year,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you do other things online or cultivate that outside of just the physical, like face-to-face?
So that's something we're working on for 2025. I think there's going to be probably like nobody quote me or hunt me down for this, but some type of subscription-based platform where people are getting resources or like other things in their area. Something I'm really passionate about is highlighting the other work that other amazing people do in my community. I always say like there is no competition. I don't think in my industry at all, because I think there's a place for I don't think there's competition actually in every industry. I think that's just like an insecurity of a lot of people. But I will say that like I can't host an event 365 days a year. I can barely, like even one a week is impressive. And so I think that if I can highlight the other amazing things that are happening in my community, I almost want there to be a forum that's exclusively like from us of highlighting everything that's going on around me. So that's probably going to be something. And then I want to do like more, what's the word? Like newsletter-esque, like giving people resources. I am launching a podcast like over the next week. I'm like,
Nice. Good for you.
it's called Heart to Heart, and it's like conversations with other people who I felt like have shaped like a journey of others or myself. So
Nice.
there's gonna be more ways for people to find us.
That's
but, yeah.
awesome. One of the things that we've talked about, or at least like it's kind of been like dropped a little bit throughout the totality of this conversation, is your age.
Yeah.
So you are 24.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to feel old. No,
No, I totally.
but I wasn't where I was going. But I am so curious as a 24-year-old and as a woman in the space that you are in and the life experience that you have had, how bad has the like Gen Z stereotyping or the ageist, sexist stigma stereotype been towards you as you were getting all of these things going?
Bad. I think people are real. I think generally, and I hate saying this, I think they're, like I said, that's why I created community. I think like people generally can be really terrible to other people. And like, I even look back towards like some of my younger years, like an internship that I had where like, I remember like this woman like said something essentially along the lines of like, I'm meant to be behind the scenes. Like, you're not supposed to be like in front of anything. Like, that's basically for her to do. And it like crushed me as like a college student. Then I had like somebody else say you'll know when it essentially it's not time for you to be a boss yet. Like you need to do the grunt work in order to figure it out. And once you're done basically slaving for other people, then you've earned your rights to be who you want to be. And the cute comments or that's adorable or so what's
the brush
your
off.
or
that's cute.
That's
your little
cute.
hobby
or
there.
Yeah. And I think that's been really frustrating. And then once I think people are you have monthly partnerships and so now you want something from me. Yeah. Also, I charge hourly. So if you'd rather meet with me then, I think I actually would use it as fuel, even though it did really hurt me. And I think it's hard. That's again, I think it drove me to feel more empowered into what I was doing of being
it
actually
motivated you.
When people would say things to me or call because of my age, it's funny when I was in corporate setting, people would be like, oh my God, was that song alive? Was that song? I don't even know if you're alive when that song is around.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I've heard that, you moron?
Yeah.
I don't think you're not funny. Is that your dad joke book? Whatever. But I think it would annoy me in the moment. And then I would be the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is because of people like you. So it's okay that you're closed-minded. It's okay that you feel the need to voice things that maybe are an insecurity of yours. Cool. Not my baggage. But it would make me feel more empowered to be there's people out there that are like me. And I think the Gen Z age group, millennial age group will feel that they can't connect with their elders. And there's actually other women and other men who are older than me who actually are like me. They just maybe don't get their voices heard or they don't get to share that opinion really often. Yeah. So I think bridging that gap is what I found the coolest is it actually isn't an age thing. It's actually just a people thing. And then they use the age thing to make them feel they have a niche or a place to be. And I'm if you could break that barrier between people, how much of a better community or world would you be in if you dropped the stigma? Yeah. So
I think it's interesting. I think that's a good question because it's also important to remember that what you're going through is nothing new. Yeah. Millennials went through it, boomers went through it. Yeah. Every generation goes through it. I mean, millennials were blamed for everything. We were the worst because of avocado toast and because of this.
I love avocado toast.
And now we all have a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. To complain about, but we were the ones who, we were the first generation that grew up on the internet. So people thought that we were the weakest generation to have ever walked on this planet before. It was okay, well, thanks for ruining the planet.
And now they put that on Gen Z.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I also feel it
thing.
Almost connects back to the AI thing that you said. Yeah. It's almost, I think it's a lot of older people sit there and twiddle their thumbs you don't know what it's like to work hard. Yeah. It's actually, you don't know what it's like to work hard because now everything's at everybody's disposal. So people actually have options now. Yeah. Yeah. Where before, when you'd go on a date, the guy would call your parents' house. Now they're swiping on me on Hinge and super liking, you have to pay for shit. Yeah. Talk about hard people.
Sorry, I didn't have to build a railroad with a hammer.
A hammer, yeah. It's
that's true. What kind of hard? What's your definition of hard?
Yeah, they glorified back in the day. It's that world just doesn't exist anymore. Right. It's not my fault. We've progressed as a society, which is great, but don't vilify me due to these arbitrary circumstances.
And the circumstances I didn't choose. I always say, I didn't choose to wake up. I just you put me here. And don't you want to hear my opinion? But I think it's easy for people to say about the Gen Z millennials generation where people say that we're entitled. I hear that often. Yeah. And I actually think that I want to say that we actually just are willing to take less shit. Yeah. And
110%.
I'm that's on you. That's on love my dad to this day, but he'll be I was miserable in my job for 40 years. I'm and that's on you that you didn't change it. Yeah. And my mom was telling me a statistic because I was leaving, when I was leaving corporate, I was oh my God, I've only been here for 2 years, resume gap, it's not a resume gap if you have a business, but okay. Yeah. But she was the average that a millennial or Gen Z stays at a job now is actually under 12 months.
Not surprised.
And I was what? And she was yeah.
It's crazy,
so you made it out of the cut, baby. I'm yeah. But I think realizing that when people are treated like shit, people are more willing to walk. People are more willing. And honestly, I was scared to leave my job. And I'm what if I'm making a bad choice and I ruin my life forever? And then I'm
there's always a job you could go back to.
But how silly is that you're that's gonna ruin your life? Ooh, best you.
I know.
I don't know if I was supposed to say that on camera, but I feel like I should. But I think entitled is such a funny way to look at that.
Yeah.
Or like people are like, I was saying to my dad about like some job that I wanted, and I was like, I'm going to ask for $35 an hour given my connections. My dad was like, you don't have a PhD from Harvard. I was like, yeah, but I have a network and a community that I built.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like that's worth a lot. Like, but I think we're also more willing to like empower ourselves and be like, you know what, I actually deserve that, and I'm willing to leave if I don't feel valued. I think that's in relationships. Like, I think people used to like get married and just stay forever, and now people are realizing like,
People were just trying to check a box. I've got the job. Okay, now just keep the job.
Right.
And it's like that. There's more to life
Get up
than
and
that.
take it. Yeah.
You know?
job. Like,
Yeah.
And I often think too, like in this, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, but I think with jobs, it used to be where jobs wanted you to.
Yeah.
Jobs would do more to keep you and to make the job the community, right? That was your home away from home. You spend so much time with your coworkers and your colleagues. And now we're at that point, especially given the general environment everywhere.
Yeah.
And the availability of the internet, the availability of online community, the availability of entrepreneurship, we can do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So
don't need
if
you,
a company's not willing to foster that, we don't need you.
Yeah.
We can do it for ourselves
Yeah.
and find our people and do our own thing.
Yeah. I think that is a good place to start to wrap up.
Yeah. Sorry, I told you
We
I
could
could
go
yap
for
all
days.
day. This is so fun.
This is very easy. So, Erin, where can the people find you on the socials? We'll tag it all, but shout them out.
You could find us online at Hearts in Hartford is our HTFD is our like tagline. So Hearts in HTFD is our Instagram. So if you're around the greater Hartford area, follow those. If not, my Instagram is it's Erin Catherine. So Erin, ERIN, and then Catherine, KATHERINE. That would be a shitty way to fuck up your own spelling of your name.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah,
So-
but also all my stuff is like linked in there, and like the way to follow along all of our events. And we do have like an interactive chat platform that we're all on called Geneva, and it's like a way for people to interact that we're going to be amping up a little bit in the new year. But you could just get on there for free and like meet other people. But yeah,
Awesome.
So you
Any
can check me out.
2025 goals, personal?
Be my most authentic self. And I
Oh.
think continuing to like whatever this like momentum energy is, like I feel like I'm like kind of coming into my space of like getting to share that with people feels like I feel like unapologetically ready to do that. So
Ride the wave, girl.
that's my goal.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well,
What's your
that's
goals?
awesome. Ooh.
Ooh. Oh, I wasn't ready for that.
Sorry,
You go
guys.
first.
Love you.
No, that was good.
No, I think business goal, I want to have something that is a more consistent cash flow, whether it be a subscription or like there's got to be something where it helps out with that kind of cash flow. And then personal would be I would love to start going to therapy.
Oh, you've got to go to therapy.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I would love to start going to therapy. Yeah, I think that's the person.
We could do an ASMR episode about
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
whispering.
good.
Yeah.
There's this
Love
sweatshirt that I want.
therapy.
It's actually on my Santa's Christmas list. It says I'm my
Shout
therapist's
out to Mom.
favorite.
I'm my therapist's favorite.
And I'm like, I would love to wear that out in the world and have people be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I love that.
That's a good
I
one.
love that.
What about you, Melissa?
All right. So I actually usually take like my last 2 weeks before the new year and like sit like quietly and reflect and do like vision board and like really kind of get
We're
straight
having a
and
vision
clear.
board event.
I
You
know.
should come.
Oh, I might
Ooh.
come. Actually, I love vision boards. I'm such a woo woo when it comes to that. But so I haven't like sat and done that, but I have been like mentally kind of trying to think through some things, and I usually like categorize all my things like into a financial goal. It's more goals than resolutions, but like so a financial goal, a personal goal, like a goal for pleasure, But for business, I definitely want to like re-simplify. I felt like 2024 was a big year of like expansion. So we've done like podcast things, new website, new stuff with Stitch Collective, like all these cool things. And now it's just like finding that groove and kind of like laying back in the cut a little bit. I don't want to be doing new things so much in 2025. I just want to like build into what is already there and what we spent so much time in 2024 setting up. And then for a personal goal, it is to cook more because I actually really enjoy cooking. And this year, because we were I was working so hard. I did not cook a lot. I also had like a major surgery in the beginning of the year. So like we did like a little meal delivery
God,
thing.
I forgot
Like
that's
all
how this year
stuff.
started.
Yeah. So
Holy
all
shit.
these things. So it was like I couldn't cook. So like we got used to this like meal delivery. Then when we quit that, we kind of like ate out a bit or like ordered in or whatever. And I'm just like ready to rein it in
I'm
a
such
little
a bad.
bit.
I'm not a good cook.
Yeah.
Really?
I always
It's
like
a
make
learned
jokes
thing. You
like
can
when I'll be
learn.
on dates with guys, I'll be like, "Do you want to be a stay-at-home dad?" Because like
Hey.
I have no skill sets.
I have a like very good friend who's a stay-at-home dad.
I'm like,
There's
I
no
don't
shame in
think
the
they look
game.
like you could like hear blinks out loud. They're like boink boink.
Yeah.
They
I'm like, guys, sorry, I just
Isn't
like
that
I.
the dream?
I'm
would
like, I only
fucking
know how to
love
make
that.
peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah,
like I don't. I
yeah.
actually don't know how to do anything.
I would
else.
love that. I had people over last night and I burnt the popcorn in the microwave.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was bad.
That's-
It was bad.
That's awesome.
All right. Anyway, we'll cut that part out.
No, you should keep that.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah.
cool.
It's endearing.
It's your special
Even
skill.
with the popcorn button, you still burn
Yeah,
the
it was
popcorn.
not great. It was people. I went upstairs into where we were watching a movie, and everyone was like, "Is everything all right down there?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's popcorn's cooking." And they're like, "It's just."
No, it's really
They're like, the
cooking.
house is actually on
Yeah,
fire.
The house is
exactly.
cooking.
Yeah, they're like, it's really warm in here, and there's
God.
flames coming
Oh,
up the
that's
stairs.
awesome.
Oh my god.
Well, Erin, thank you so
my God,
much.
thanks
We've
for
taken up
having
so much
me.
of your time. Thank
No,
you
you
so
have
much
not.
for coming
I
here.
just I could stay here all day.
Yeah.
I'm bringing a. Oh my god, there's a pillow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We
Thank
appreciate you.
We really,
Thank you for
really do
having
appreciate
me.
you and like everything that you're doing with building a community.
Well,
It's
you guys are the
amazing.
coolest, and
Take you out at some
I feel
events.
thankful too being here and like getting to hear your guys' story because I
Thank
think
you.
that's what
Thank
like
you.
strengthens the community is people sharing that. So
Yes.
tell me a story.
Yes, exactly. Watch out, everybody. So thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of The Fabric of America.
Woohoo.